it does not feel comfortable. The alley does not feel like a comfortable place. It feels like you've left your comfort zone and you've moved into the unknown. Welcome to the place where visionaries, leaders, and kingdom builders come when you are in the alley, as I help you discover the keys to unlock your next level of clarity, strategy, and confidence. I'm Dr. LaTanya. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. LaTanya, helping you to discover the keys that you need to unlock your next level of clarity, strategy, and confidence, especially when you are in the alley, not to be confused with the valley. Let me tell you something. There is something to be said about this alley experience, right? It's interesting because when God first gave me this concept, He began to explain to me the people who I was serving and what they were experiencing. And He started to show me a couple of things that they were going through, a couple of things that they just could not explain. And God began to give me the language in order to speak to them and to help them through this experience. And so I'm like, okay, God, like, how do I even explain this? And one of the things about my relationship with God is that He speaks to me in practical ways, okay? Very, very practical. And so I'm like, all right, what is the language that goes along with this thing? And God began to explain it to me like an alley. And I was like, okay. So I began to think about, being in between two buildings and what that means. And it was such a great analogy for me to begin to explain to my clients, because I would hear what they were experiencing over and over and over again. And it became very familiar. And so I started to explain using the language that God had given me about the alley to them. And everyone responded the same, like, whoa, I'm in the alley. And so I had to explain to them that it often feels like the valley. Let's see if any of these common characteristics of the alley, which feels like the valley, but not to be confused with it, apply to you. So there are a couple things that I want you to pay attention to, because one of the things that is so interesting about this alley experience is that it makes you just really question everything, right? So maybe you're in a place where you have began to build in one area and you got to figure out, how in the world do I sustain this when I feel God moving me to another area? It might be in the same industry, a different industry, with one target audience moving to another target audience, one title moving to another title, one area of leadership moving to another. And so God began to explain to me that He will indeed shift us. And when we're moving from one building to the next, there are times when God will call you to tear everything you've built down. There are also times where He's called you to sustain what you built, get some systems and people and team members in place to help sustain it so that you can move to the next building. And there are times when it becomes this hybrid. There are some places and spaces in that building process that you've done before that are still working, and God still desires, for you to uphold. However, there are some things in that previous building that He wants you to tear down and be removed. And so all of these things begin to happen in your mind, and it's whirling and it's spiraling, and all of these things are happening. How do I know? I've been there before, and that's what, God told me several times, like, I've taken you through this so many times that you now have the language, and I'm going to give you the language to speak to my people about it. So characteristic number one, you feel like you have built some things, but God is moving you into a different place or space, and you're trying to figure out how to sustain, how to tear down, or how to maintain what you've built before, and also get the keys, the tools, the strategies that you need to build the other thing. Is that you? Some other characteristics of the building phase. Oh my goodness, there are so many. This alley experience is very narrow. Imagine being in between two buildings and the alley is so narrow that it makes you, try to understand what is happening, right? It does not feel comfortable. The alley does not feel like a comfortable place. It feels like you've left your comfort zone and you've moved into the unknown. And so if you're feeling like you're moving into this unknown place, this uncomfortable place, you're like, what is going on? Not many people can even fit in this narrow place with me anymore. I have to shift. I have to do something. You might be in the alley. Another characteristic of an alley, and really I want you to imagine, just like you're in between two buildings in New York, right? Those small little areas and places and spaces where, not many cars can fit, not many people can fit, right? It's often the place where the garbage cans are. The trash, okay? The trash. And so if you're in that place, it's narrow, you're moving from one building to the next, you're trying to get through that thing, it is narrow, but it is tight. It's so tight that you begin to feel like something has to be shed, whether it is people, places, or things. It might be habits, it might be mindsets, but you start to feel like something has to go. This space is too narrow, this space is too tight, I can't really move here myself, and I definitely can't bring anybody along for this right here. Nope. I'm trying to figure this thing out myself. And so if you're feeling like you're in that tight place, right, where something has been, you've been feeling like you need to shed some things, you might be in the alley. Yeah, let's keep going, because there are so many characteristics of this place, and this is like a self-evaluation. I want you to start to think about where you are and where God is moving you, so that you'll know if you're indeed in this place. Because if so, you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit subscribe if this is resonating with you. Let me tell you something. You're looking around. You're at a place where you're saying, listen, I feel like I'm in this thing by myself. I'm in between these two building phases, and actually I'm getting a little paranoid. I'm looking around. I'm trying to figure out who I can trust. I'm trying to figure out who can go with me, who has to stay. I'm trying to figure out who has the words, who has the language, who can communicate at the level in which I'm going. Not only where I was, but where I'm going. That alley will have you thinking that you're all alone in this, but I promise you are not alone. There are other people in the alley as well, and trust me, we're going to be gathering and all, okay? And so if you're feeling like, you're questioning, you're wondering, you're looking around to try to figure out if you're in this thing alone, you might be in the alley. Another very common characteristic in the alley is really trying to figure out who you are. Your identity might be, under attack right now. Trying to figure out who you are and if you have what it takes. Oh my goodness. The alley will make you question yourself. The alley will make you try to figure out, like, God, are you sure? Did you call me? Let me go back through my credentials and see if, anything qualifies, because, what you're calling me to build over here, I'm not there yet. And you might be carrying me a little too fast. Do I have what it takes? And so if you're in that place where you're questioning yourself, you know that you're leaving some things behind, you're moving into what God is calling you to do on another level, on another scale, because he's taking you higher, right? This next building has more floors and it has more doors, and you want to make sure that you're not, questioning yourself and wondering if you are actually moving in that right direction, and if you have what it takes to move in that direction. But if you are right now, it's okay. It's a part of the process. It is a part of the process, and we're going to get through it, because there's so many more videos about how, right? How to actually get through this alley season or this alley phase. I promise you're going to come out on the other side. All right. Also, you may be feeling defeated. Ooh, Lord. When I tell you the feeling of defeat will jump on you, I was talking to one of my clients one day, and she began to say this to me, and it wasn't something that I had personally felt in my alley seasons. However, when she explained it, it made so much sense. And again, God began to give the language. Why do you feel defeated in an alley season when you're in between two buildings? Because you hadn't been there before. Because this feels new. because you don't know exactly, right? You don't have all the clarity and all the keys to know what's exactly in this next building. You don't know what the building phase might look like. You don't know how long the building phase might take. And so that really causes you to feel defeated. Not to mention, I just mentioned that you're already feeling like you're in this thing alone. You might be shedding some things and some people away from you. You're trying to figure out how to sustain what you built on one side and move into the things that he called you to on the other. Oh my goodness. It's a lot, right? But I promise you, you're not in this thing alone and you will not be defeated. We're just going through some of these characteristics because I want to let you know that you are not crazy, okay? You are not crazy, but you're not in that alley. I mean, in the valley either. You're in the alley. You're just in between two building phases. Let's go to another because we're talking about the characteristics of this alley. Whew. Okay, are you ready? In the alley, you're feeling like you have a lack of clarity. You're feeling like you're not exactly sure what to do next. You don't know exactly what he's calling you to do or how he's calling you to do it or who is supposed to help. Sometimes we get a glimpse of what God is calling us to do. We know it's something, but we haven't gotten the full revelation yet. If you're experiencing that, you may be in the alley because you don't have the full resolve, the full revelation yet to just have you to jump and to skyrocket into that next level of building. And so you're in a place where you're lacking clarity and you're wondering, you might even feel confused during this time. Confusion will set in and confusion will make you feel like you have no clarity at all. But we're going to talk about ways that you can get back to that place of clarity so that you can learn and hear from God, so much so that you have the instructions and the guidance to get to that next level. All right. And then the last one, you might be in the alley if you were looking for strategy. You're like, okay, I can see what's over there, but I'm like, how in the world? What are the building blocks? What are the bricks that I need to lay? What is the foundation to get me to that other side and to unlock the keys for this next building? Oh my goodness. All of those things are just characteristics of this alley, and they might help you to understand that one, this is normal. This is normal. If you are a visionary, a leader, a kingdom builder, a kingdom CEO, we go through these phases, some of us more than others, right? And one thing I know that is so important is that you build in the clarity, the strategy, and the confidence, because the alley oftentimes comes for your confidence. No. We will not let it. The alley will come for your confidence, but we will not let it. So I want to make sure that you stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed yet, you're on the right channel. You chose the right video and you chose the right guide for your journey. I'm here to help you navigate this journey, so much so that you come out on the other side with clarity, strategy, and confidence. All right. Does it sound like you? Does any of these characteristics of the alley sound like you? Because if they sound like you, then there are some strategies that I want you to get. There are some things that I want you to get, even in the next video, as I begin to break down different ways that you can begin to navigate this alley experience. But one thing I want you to know first is that you are not alone. There are others of us who have been in the alley, who will experience the alley again, and know and understand that there are keys, there are building blocks to getting out of this alley experience. And so I want you to share this video with someone you know who has come to you, shared something with you, maybe a friend of yours, a leader, a visionary in your life, who you know who is experiencing one of these characteristics of being in the alley. And I want you to let them know you're not in the valley, you're in the alley. All right. I'm Dr. LaTanya. I want you to join me in the next video because we're going to be breaking down tips and strategies for you to begin to navigate this alley experience and this alley season successfully. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you connect. Make sure that you go to the description and connect there as well. I have so many ways that we can work together, so many ways that you can learn more as well. I want you to remember, you got the key.